technical difficulty there. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, when you have a hardcore and a standard league where all the items, you know, filter through after the league's end, it opens up, you know, a gate for different kinds of builds. Like you can focus on perfecting a build or pushing, you know, items and pushing your DPS, you know, min-maxing that. And it's a feature that you can't really have on these temporary leagues because you know, number one, there's not as much liquid currency to craft, you know, such items. But I feel like, you know, it's a different kind of league. I wouldn't ever say it was like a like a dumpster league. I just feel like it's different, you know, just because there's some more currency floating around in it and more items, it just creates a different environment. But you know, pretty interesting nonetheless. The next league that came to be Domination and Nemesis, which was, you know, sometimes referred to as Path of Melee or Attack Base. But with the introduction of like Crown of Eyes and an item like Lightning Coil, I really like the fact that GGG is willing to be flexible with making like items that were once, you know, really garbage. Like when you had an attack-based item, and crit multi, physical damage, and then you saw spell damage, and you're just like, oh, I just ripped a mod. But all of a sudden, that unique is introduced, and all of a sudden, those particular items spike in value. Also, with the Lightning Coil having the huge drawback where you had negative, you know, lightning resist or minus lightning resist, that drove, you know, items that had very, very good lightning resist, you know, up, and you were able to profit, you know, from just understanding the mechanics, and it made evasion builds much more viable against like the physical damage intake. Which I think is, you know, what was necessary, especially if you didn't want to do like an IR evasion conversion, which I think gets kind of, you know, stale. It really takes the flavor out of evasion. You know, you're supposed to be evasive, but you just convert it to armor. And I mean, it's very useful, but a little uninteresting for me. So just, you know, tossing in those two items, you know, Crown of Eyes, Lightning Coil, those are good examples of, you know, GGG shifting the economy. Also Ambush and Invasion, which is our current leagues, and we have the precious and treacherous Vaal orb, which I like to think of like a Las Vegas orb. You know, you have your tears of joy or your tears of pain, and it's just like, it's one way that I think that GG is always thinking in the back of their mind, how can we make the economy interesting this league, or how can we stir the pot? And you know, a lot of people were complaining about legacy items. You know, boom, Vaal orb shows up, it starts destroying those items and completely, you know, removing them from the economy. So I think overall the players are very happy, and the, you know, the high rollers that want to, you know, roll the dice, you know, they're allowed to do so. We also saw the implementation of the Stonehammer recipe, which extended to, you know, the other Stonehammer types. That was like a kind of like a charity thing, which definitely made more of a convenience than it did an economic shift. And chisels are roughly around the same price. But you know, the crafting enthusiasts are very, you know, few as far as like getting that perfect item. Completely removing item quantity and nerfing the rarity values, and having the crit multiplier mod also had a huge impact in what we're seeing today. How do you guys feel about the nerfing of the crit multi and the item quantity removal?
I think the item quantity removal was like a really good move for the new leagues. Like, I think in the long term, like for the 4-month leagues, it will in the end maybe make a more healthier, less like fluctuated market. But like, I personally do not have a lot of experience playing the fresh starts and in like the 4-month leagues, but having less of a supply and less being able to like obtain less from no item quantity, I think it's going to make you appreciate like each orb, or like appreciate farming more, like to get the items to trade with. Like when something drops, it's just going to have that much more value to you, just because you're having less items drop to begin with.
Right. Zeno?
I don't know. IAQ, it had to go. It really did. It was just so strong. I mean, I don't know. It just stacked with this. Once you hit that certain amount of IAR and you pair with the IAQ, it was borderline broken. And then, you know, people snapshotting those summoners back in Nemesis and everything, it just made it even stronger. Obviously, there's no IIQ gem, but there was still a higher amount of IIQ, and it just got ridiculous. In terms of crit multi, I don't know. I'm impartial about that. I don't play too many crit builds. I don't want to answer that question without, doing my research. But I got a question for you, Hedgie.
Yeah.
When it comes to fusings and exalteds, obviously exalteds, there's some people with like hundreds of them, sometimes even thousands of them. Considering it's drop only, how the heck how do people get that much? Like, do you think they need to make a recipe? Because that's just ridiculous. It just blows my mind when someone says, I have 200 pure exalts, and you're just like, how? I mean, like...
Well, I mean, I found ways to craft efficiently, and that was my main thing. Having a lot of stash tabs that I was able to open up like a bazaar definitely facilitated my need for currency. And because, I had such a huge crafting base and a lot of stash tabs, I capitalized on, paying attention to rates, exchanging when the time was good, and, crafting really smartly is pretty much the best way. But to me, gaining 200 exalts or whatever, especially in a permanent league, is pretty easy. As long as you know what you're doing and you know what items are like hot. Paying attention to the trends of like flavor of the month, that's a huge way to capitalize on what gear actually needs to come out, and what needs to be generated or conjured. So overall, the main trend is that I'm finding the demand of items and the overall wealth in especially in invasion is becoming very, very slow. I used to sell my items at 70% of what I would cost, or what I would think it would cost to craft, or something of equal value to that. But at this point in the league, it's really, really, really tough to sell a lot of items. So I've been lowering that number to 55 to 60. When there's less players or less people generating items, there's also less cash going around, so it's not easy to accumulate. So I'm finding like really, really, really good items that I'm used to selling in other 3-month, 4-month leagues. I was once able to sell it for 10x. Now I'm able to sell it for like 7, just because there's not much liquid currency being exchanged. Each league, however, shares a lot of the same patterns. When you go early on, the rates are drastically fluctuating. Bottom tier items, mid tier items will end up falling off really quick once the race scene and all the people that grind really early, break that point. But the currency liquidation, I've noticed become sooner and sooner before the leagues end. Like I almost estimated the last league, Nemesis and Domination, Nemesis and Domination, when I was about to liquidate all my exalts into Chaos so that I could liquidate them back when they were on Hardcore and on Standard. Like I misjudged the mark. I went a week earlier than I thought, and it was actually 3 weeks that it happened. This time around in Invasion, I would probably, people are catching on to this trend. People are probably going to look to liquidate a month before the league ends, because there's a normalizing effect. You're always going to get normalized to your parent league. And this is, very, very advantageous to the one that knows what he's doing, and is paying attention to trends. But it's always, very, disheartening if you're not. Like if you're just casually playing, not keeping up with the news, especially when there's announcements of legacy items. How do you guys feel about the legacy items going into, potential nerfs, and then people buying them out and then holding them until, sitting on them? How do you guys feel about that?
All right, with Standard League, obviously that's where the bulk of the legacy items are. It's a league where people either love or hate it, so right there, but the legacy items go there. I'm cool with that. Secondly, they implemented the Vaal orb. Oh, yeah, definitely let the legacy items get ripped to death. I love watching those. Nothing like the tears of the fallen Vaal orb to make me happy. I love it. I think legacy items are fine, And, of course, the price of them goes up, and it's you get rewarded for saving your money or selling your gear in Standard to get that item. I'm impartial. It's not a bad thing. It's okay.
What do you think, Terry?
I think for legacy items, if you maybe see like an item being very popular, and like it's like flavor of the month, there's a good chance. Well, maybe not a good chance, but there is always a chance that like the very popular builds will have some adjustment to them. And like if you pay attention and you notice like what is going on and you take advantage of like trading for these items before they get nerfed, just out of like a gut feeling, or I don't know, you just do it by luck.
A bird.
Yeah,
A little bird tells you.
you just get so lucky and you make so much profit. If you're the one to take advantage of that and you make like those trades and you get it done, and like you kind of deserve it, getting like all the value that you gained purchasing those items that then got nerfed. But it's all like it's a changing market. Items change, new items come out. It's nice to see that the economy and the value of these items can be always changing, that nothing is like set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
With Exalt orbs, they don't drop. Let's just be real, they don't drop. People like you who love trading, who love being that cut-through, quote, bazaar guy, as you said, you love the Exalt orb. But people like me who run around with a pizza box as a shield, I hate trade. I cannot stand it. Most of the people just drive me crazy. I don't like biting the bullet. I'd rather play the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know,
like there's no middle ground. It's either people love the trade or hate the trade. There's no middle ground where we can get those exalted orbs as a poor man, and you rich people, you just keep getting richer. You are the 1%.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think this be a fix?
It's not even like I do the whole mirror service type thing. I mean, most of my stuff just comes from alks and chance orbs. Just knowing how to convert, recycle your currency is the big part, which is going to bring me to my next point. You know, in new leagues, I feel like more and more people are starting to understand the Regal and Chaos recipe, and that generation of orbs, it's what's essentially driving up the prices of, you know, exalts. Like, you know, you're having to go from paying 20 to 1 to 30 to 1, even like 35 to 1, and more people are generating these chaos orbs through, you know, not just finding them. We're taking, you know, static drop rates out. We're just talking about crafting them through the recipe. And the more people become aware, the more these chaos orbs and regals are floating around, you know, the more you're gonna have to pay for the exalt, because the only way to get an exalt is to vendor a mirror or, you know, find it on the ground. So those things will always be rare. And I find it interesting that GGG doesn't, you know, they could easily normalize and, you know, put a static value of, okay, if you want to get an exalt, it's going to cost you 30 chaos, like the vendor recipes or the merchants. But they don't, because they like the constantly dynamically changing, you know, and if you pay attention to the patterns, you'll become very, very rich. However, whoa, lots of feedback. So, however, I feel like investing into the orb is not a great thing. I feel like investing into items that are top tier are definitely the way to go for wealth. You see a slow, steady progression of mirrors going higher and higher and higher. Combs at the end of a 1 month 4 league, it was like 40 exalt. Then at the end of the next 4 month league, it was like 110, 120. Now we're seeing legacy combs go for 230. What does this mean? GG, I'm a firm believer that they're not huge on, you know, making something more powerful than a legacy unique. It may be different, but it'll be more narrow. And as long as it's that in that design, you know, I think investing into GG items is definitely the way to go, especially if it's going to be legacy or something is changing. So the whole crafting scene, the whole item scene, it's all on the, you know, the player. And a lot of people won't say trading is a skill. It is a very good skill. It's, you know, paying attention to the details that'll get you very, very rich.
Give us some of your tips. Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, when you're trading, it's okay to be firm as long as you understand the statistics and the randomness between, you know, how often you're going to see certain mods and how hard it is to roll perfect mods. You don't really get that feeling until you start eternal exalting and start crafting from scratch to see how much currency you're actually losing. Once you have that like experience, like Willie, he's had a lot of experience with it. You know, people have seen it. People have seen the rippage and how expensive it costs to craft. Those people understand why stuff costs so much, and it's understanding the probability. And then when you're going to trade, you know, you understand those numbers, you give a discount of what it would cost to craft, and then you stand on it. It's okay to not sell an item every day. It's okay if an item sits in your inventory. you're waiting for that, potential buyer that's going to, that item is going to specifically let them do all different kinds of things on the skill tree, like avoid dex nodes, like a 3-point dex node. A guy at level 98 is going to pay top dollar, in currency, obviously not real money, but, in orbs, to avoid having to spend 3 skill points and just get more crit multi or somewhere else or something like that. But, understanding how good an item is for a certain build, especially when it's flavor of the month, that's going to be huge into, your trading, exchanges. Also, there's no point into, being rude or ending the trade on a, bad note. You just always leave with like a thank you or sorry it didn't work out, hope for the best. It is a community, and the community and the game only gets better when people stay interested longer. So, having a certain price point that you didn't agree with, there's no reason to, just talk a lot of trash or disrupt or, just talk smack. It's more harmful than anything. So if you want the game to be better and you want trading to go easier, I mean, just keep a better positive attitude, and understand that you're not necessarily going to have the agreement in price points and stuff like that.
I definitely think like the trading is a really long learning experience, and however much you put in, that's basically however much you will get in the end, like from your trading experiences. What I did when I started to get into trading in early open beta was I looked at the wanting to buy forums a lot, and I saw what items that like people were after, the stats together, what stats combined were like most sought after, and doing that, I think that can help you learn what stats like to keep an eye out for, and maybe you can see like items posted, I want this much for this item. It can help you learn the values of like stats on specific gear, but it's a very long learning experience, and you definitely have to be patient if you want to be a very effective trader.
Yeah, one thing that I really worry about is this new 6-link change. We're trying to get it out of Chris to see if he would give us any hints, but I worry that 6-linking won't be as valuable as it is. Like if there's going to be a change, a slight change, I think is warranted, but a big change of people like having all these 6 links and spending thousands upon thousands and finally getting it, and then completely negating that feeling of like sense of accomplishment, I think is going to be.
You hear what he said though? He was like, "We're not increasing the numbers, the chance to 6-link. It's something you do with the new 4-month league," is what he said specifically.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
that feel from before will still be there, but this is your chance to get your 6-link during these 4-month leagues, it sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, incentive is one thing that they're really gonna have to worry about as far as like going from ambush to a new league. People are gonna be cheated if they feel like they're not accomplishing a lot, or as far as currency or mapping. It's gonna feel differently. So it's definitely going to be a challenge on their end, on the development, to balance that sense of feeling of currency progression. But yeah, it's definitely unique, and I look forward to the new leagues. Obviously, the new leagues always start with the flasks and work my way up. If you want to know more, all my videos on YouTube, there's a lot of guides and a lot of opinions that I have about trading or price checking, or just generally working your way from the ground up into a better stash.
All right, so we're coming at the end of our podcast. First, before I even give out my thank yous, I want to apologize. Obviously, I had a power problem. I was sitting in my car for the most part, and then became a robot, and then some feedback. So I want to apologize for all the technical difficulties, as well as Hedgie's internet hiccup. It was not intended by any means. In the near future, we'll have more contingency operations and planned, so this doesn't happen again. For thank yous, I want to give a big thanks to Chris Wilson for showing up to this podcast. It's a big deal. This was the community's chance to hear from the lead dev, and we did. So thank you, Chris. I also want to thank the Grinding Gear Games team for watching our podcast and also being, very attentive and, again, being there with the community. We appreciate that. Not every gaming company does that. Thank you, Twitch, for allowing this to happen on Twitch TV. Without you guys, we'd be stuck with, not much else. So thank you very much. I want to thank all the viewers, you guys, for tuning in. Much love. We appreciate your constructive feedback. You guys are full of knowledge, and we really appreciate you tuning in, as well as the mods for laying down the law when needed. Thank you, mods. Also, I want to thank Mima for the overlay, even though it's print screened right now in MS Paint. That's all right. Thanks a lot, Mima, for making it. We appreciate it. And before we go, do you guys have any closing comments?
I'd just like to say thank you so much, everybody, for coming to watch the podcast. It means a lot that people are interested in like coming up and watching the podcast and hearing what we have to say and discuss. It means a lot. Like, you guys are amazing. It's Path of Exile is such a great game, and it's really nice to help out and contribute to the community. So yeah, thank you everybody for stopping by.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I also wanted to apologize. It wasn't as smooth as possible, but we tried our best. The situation we were handed, just try to get something together because mission failure wasn't an option, and we wanted to get the content out there. You guys took the time out of your day to, come listen and see what Chris had to say and even talk to him. And we didn't want to disappoint. And, he's a busy guy, so getting another opportunity in the near future would have been a long, long time. So thank you guys for putting the faith and, working through all these obstacles. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say.
All right. Well, that's it.